How far are you willing to go to protect and save the ones you love? Is there a limit? Is there anything that you wouldn't do? Is there such thing as going too far? So many questions, so many lies, and so many more twists wait for us in The Village. But before we go to see just how good this twist really is, if you've been here before and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? The button's right down there and it's free, and it lets me know that you want to continue to see videos like this. And also, I have a second channel, just go subscribe to it. There's videos that I put up there sometimes. Thank you, and with that, we can get right into one of the saddest ways to open a movie, with August Nicholson burying his son Daniel, who we can see was only 6 or 7 when he passed according to his tombstone, and that the year is 1897 here in The Village. And knowing the point of the film makes this whole opening scene that much more impactful, because the original elders that settled here in The Village left the towns in order to protect themselves and their families, and yet we open with the tragedy of a father burying his son.
Did we make the right decision to settle here?
A question that will stand throughout the entire film and will ultimately be left up to each person to answer, because it's clear that this is already a difficult question, but I love the way that Mr. Edward Walker sums up the heavy feelings that everyone has in this moment by saying we are grateful for the time that we have been given. As he then sits and everyone begins eating, just as something off in the distance lets out a haunting howl, and they all stop, including a young Jesse Eisenberg at the end of the table, here in his 3rd film, long before he ever became a wizard. But as he and everyone else is quietly staring off into the forbidden woods, there is an exception with Noah Percy, who at first stands clapping and laughing because of the sound, taking a minute for it to sink in that it's not a good thing. Noah here has an unspecified learning disability and is played perfectly by Adrian Brody. And I can't imagine anyone else being able to play this character the way that he does and the way that the film needs. But it's after the meal that we then see everybody going about their normal day, until there's 2 girls sweeping off their front porch and they notice a red flower growing beside it. They quickly stop, run over, pluck it, and bury it in the yard before going back to their work like nothing happened. And that's because red is known as the bad color. Nobody wears it, nobody's supposed to be near it, and it's also said to attract those we don't speak of, which were the ones that made those noises off in the forbidden woods during the meal. They are also the reason that there are watchtowers around the perimeter of the village, but
those we don't speak of have not breached our borders for many years.
No one is allowed to enter into the forbidden woods, because that is those we don't speak of's domain, and they are not to enter into the village. This is the main rule that everyone is taught from the time that they're really young, and it's a way to keep everyone safe, but there are some that seem to think that there should be times when they set this rule aside. Lucius here believes that there may be some medications that could really benefit the community, and since little Daniel passed away, it's been on his mind that there might have been something more that could have been done, as well as maybe some medications that could even help Noah Percy. The elders, however, don't give Lucius an answer right now. Instead, it's not yet, let us speak about it so we can decide what would be best for the community. But for now, they also have another problem. There's dead animals that have been skinned that are now popping up around the village. They think maybe it's a coyote or a wolf that is suffering from madness. No one is sure, but
we do not believe our boundary has been breached.
Everyone is worried about this new problem, some more than others, because Kitty Walker is too busy being in love. Even though she hasn't actually spoken to the guy that she's in love with, after clearing everything with her father, she then goes to confess her love to Lucius. Lucius doesn't feel the same way, but at least Kitty has her younger sister Ivy to help her get over this heartbreak, and Ivy may be blind, but she does get around this town really well, even being the one who is supposed to put Noah into the quiet room when he gets caught fighting again, but instead they decide to make a deal.
No hitting, no hitting, no hitting, no hitting. kidding.
After a quick race out to Resting Rock, they find Lucius, who's just chilling eating some bread, where not only does Ivy tell him about Kitty crying so much, but she full-on calls him out about liking her instead. And before he even has time to respond, Noah returns from running off for a moment to put some berries into Ivy's hand. They are red berries, the bad color, but not any kind of berries that grow within the village, leading Lucius to once again speaking before the elders to get permission to go to the towns to get medicine, because he believes that Noah has been going into the Forbidden Woods for a while now, but has been unbothered by those we don't speak of because of his innocence. Again though, we don't hear their answer to his request, but it is clear from the conversation that he has with his mother Alice that evening that no one is in favor of him leaving. And then she explains what happened to his father, that one morning he got up and then never made it back home. Instead, they found his body days later in the river, having been robbed and killed.
Why do you tell me this blackness?
She just wants him to understand how dangerous it is, not just in the woods, but also in the towns. She's so scared that the worst could possibly happen to him, and that's the reason that none of them can allow him to leave. 3 things happen after this. First, Lucius calls out all of the secrets that are hidden throughout the village. So many people have these locked boxes with their past inside, never to be opened, but never to be forgotten. Second, he tells his mother that Edward Walker has feelings for her, using the same logic that Ivy did on him earlier, because when they were kids, he used to hold her arm and help her to get places, but when they got a little bit older, he stopped touching her altogether, and Edward Walker never touches Alice either. And he even tries to quote Ivy and completely messes it up, making it even more confusing.
Yet others know we want to do things, so we don't do them.
His look after this always cracks me up, because he even realizes that didn't sound right. And lastly, he still makes it clear to her that he wants to travel to the towns to hopefully help those around him, which is why the very next day, he decides to walk into the Forbidden Woods and pick some of the same berries that Noah had. And while he wasn't seen by anyone within the village, he was seen by something in the woods. Then that evening, he finds Ivy playing hide and seek with Noah, or at least trying, because Noah is nowhere around. He walks her home and they talk about his wanting to go to the town. She also tells him that Kitty is engaged and has already fallen in love with another guy named Christoph, which does mean that Ivy is now available for anyone that would be interested. But it's after she goes inside that we see through the window that Noah is actually hiding in a closet. Of course, Ivy doesn't see him, and when she goes to shut the closet, his giggling gets me every time. But all of this good news and fun times is cut short by something going on at the watchtower. Lucius crossed into their territory, and now they have done the same. The bells are rung, the people are warned, and everyone runs for the cellars in their homes. Except for Lucius, who is running around helping everyone that he can get to safety, and he makes it just in time to hide behind the edge of a house when we finally get to see one of those we don't speak of pass by right where he was. And I gotta say, this is such a cool design, and I'm glad that they went with this one because it stuck with me ever since watching this. But originally they were going to go with more of a wolf standing on its hind legs, which is what we see a drawing of on Resting Rock earlier in the film. That would have been cool and all, but this here, I 100%, like, if I could have one of these somewhere in here, that would be awesome. But as one of these creatures is lurking around the village and everyone has made it to their cellars, Ivy still has not, because she knows that Lucius is still running around outside, and she is sure that he will be there soon to make sure that she is safe. Even with Kitty and Noah begging her to come over to the cellar and to get to safety, and one of the creatures now making its way around the house, she still stands there and stretches her hand out. Everything about this scene is great. The music fits it perfectly, but it's not just that Lucius saved her, it's that he took her hand again. The exact thing that Ivy called him out for earlier, and the reason that she knew that he had feelings for her. He had wanted to be there for her and be there with her for so long, and now he's finally there, hand in hand, not just saving her, but admitting his true feelings for her in this moment. The next morning, a town meeting is held to decipher why the boundary was crossed and why they seem to have left markings on so many doors as some sort of warning. Through a letter, Lucius admits to his actions of first crossing over into their woods, and instead of the town rising up and grabbing him and casting him out or anything like that, Mr. Walker gets up, slowly makes his way to Lucius at the back of the room and says,
You are fearless in a way that I shall never know.
A bit of time passes and we pick back up on the wedding day between Kitty and Kristoff. Everyone is gathered again for another big meal and the mood is much better this time, but once again Mr. Edward Walker stands and says we are grateful for the time we have been given. But we also see an offering of sorts that is being presented to those we don't speak of by the people of the village by throwing half of a pig onto a big rock. We're not sure how often this practice is done, but what we do know is those we don't speak of will be eating pretty good. It's after this and after the meal that we find Ivy sitting with Miss Clack, and she tells her about her older sister that she also had that didn't make it past her 23rd birthday.
A group of men took her life in an alley by our home.
This, along with Ivy's question as to why she didn't come to Covington Woods, the village, I found really interesting on a rewatch. Because it's not a secret that the village hasn't always been there. Everyone knows that the elders used to live in the towns and then decided to move and settle there in the village, afterwards realizing that they are not alone in those woods, making a deal with those we don't speak of, and then trying their hardest to forget about the lives that they left behind. The only real secret here is just how dangerous the towns were. And it's this revelation for Ivy that leads to this moment. Likely, this is the first time in her life that she has really thought that something could happen to her sister. All of this time that they've spent together having fun, laughing, crying, and loving one another could end so much sooner than what she would hope for. Which is why those words that Edward Walker speaks before every meal carry so much weight. We are grateful for the time that we have been given. And speaking of Edward Walker, Alice decides to test the theory that Lucius had about him never touching her because he likes her. And he completely leaves her hanging. It could be because he does have feelings for her, or it could be because he's married to his wife Tabitha and they have 5 kids. Either way, the wedding party continues. They dance, they laugh, some kid screams in the distance. Their cries continue until everyone at the wedding stops and scrambles to figure out exactly what is happening. In the confusion, Ivy tries her hardest to make it through the crowd when again, her hand is taken by Lucius, who leads her through. These moments are so small and yet so good. The screams were coming from 2 boys who saw and were seen by one of those we don't speak of in the village. They claim that it was leaving more warnings and wants them gone, and oh boy, have they been busy. Many more skinned animals lay all over the ground, and even some hang from the porch of the Hunt's house, which is Lucius and his mother Alice's home. So much of their livestock has been taken and killed, and it's all to serve as a final warning to not cross the boundary. I'm sure all of this made for a restless night for many others, but it is Ivy who we see being startled awake and then making her way outside to sit next to Lucius on her porch. Now I know what you're thinking. How in the world did she know that he was sitting out there on her porch? Because she's blind after all. And I assume that it's been a while since you've seen this movie, especially since it's not streaming anywhere, but Ivy does answer this exact question earlier in the film when they make it out to Resting Rock and find Lucius sitting there eating bread. She claims that certain people do put off a bit of color and that's all she ever sees, and Lucius is one of these people, even though she will not tell him what his color is. I say all of that so you don't have any more questions about one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Why are you on this porch?
It is not safe.
There are other porches, other places that he could be, but he's here. And she asked him, how is it that he is so brave when everyone else is so afraid? Even when he was a boy, he was still braver than the rest of them and proved it with the stump game, where they stand on a stump at the very edge of the boundary with their back facing the forbidden woods for as long as they can, and Lucius holds the record. And he claims that his bravery comes from him not worrying about what will happen, only focusing on what needs to be done.
When we are married, will you dance with me?
He doesn't give an answer to this, only looking down at the ground, causing Ivy to question why is it that he can't just say the things that are in his head, to which he just asks her why she cannot stop saying what is in hers. And finally, he just opens his mouth and lets his feelings pour out. Why does she have to lead when he wants to lead? If he wants to dance, he will ask her to dance. And if he wants to speak, he will open his mouth and say whatever needs to be said. Everyone all the time is plaguing him to speak more, to speak further. But why? What good does it do for him to tell her that from the moment he wakes up, she is in his every thought? Sometimes not even being able to think clearly or focus on his work because she is on his mind. Who does it gain for him to tell her that
The only time I feel fear as others do is when I think of you in harm.
that is why he is on her porch instead of anywhere else? Because he fears for her safety above all others.
And yes, I will dance with you on our wedding night.
This is the point of the whole film. This scene is the most important scene to make sense of what has happened and what will happen. Everything about it is perfect, and it raises the question of how far are you willing to go to protect the ones you love? And word of this love between Ivy and Lucius spreads throughout the village very quickly. With Ivy getting Kitty's blessing and a wedding in the plans, Noah is struggling very much with this news. He loves Ivy and always has, so he goes to visit Lucius to try to speak with him, but just can't seem to be able to get the words together to tell him how he feels about this. And luckily, Lucius understands, so he also does his best to get him to understand that there are different kinds of love. No, Noah, what have you done? This hurts so much more because of the last scene, and even Noah is hurting in this moment and he doesn't know what to do. He first sets the knife down and then goes to leave and then thinks about it for a moment, turns back, grabs the knife, goes to leave again, but then looks back down to Lucius, kneels down beside him, and stabs him again. And this is one of my other favorite scenes in this film for very different reasons, but it's a scene that causes a full shift in the story and again has us to ask the question of how far are you willing to go to protect the ones you love? The aftermath of what Noah has done is heart-wrenching, and seeing him realize what he's done when he still has the bad color on his hands is hard to watch. Along with everybody else trying to figure out what happened, the elders are told, everyone in town is scrambling to figure out whose blood is Noah covered in, Ivy making her way straight to Lucius's house, her standing in his doorway screaming for him to answer her, and not even making a noise when she stumbles over his body. Falling to the ground and grabbing onto him, others realize what has happened, and as her father enters into the room, she tells him that she can no longer see his color. He tries to pull her away, but how can she leave him? Not when they were supposed to dance on their wedding night. I was also crying when I was writing this script. What's going on? This whole thing's just so painful to watch. Ivy is now the one covered in the bad color, but nobody says anything to her about it. Everyone is still just in shock from what happened. They've taken Lucius and laid him in a bed and wrapped his wounds and can now only hope that he'll make it through. And they've also taken Noah and put him in the quiet room where Ivy is led. And without a word, she walks up to him, still covered in Lucius's blood, finds his face, and just begins to beat him until she is pulled away, leaving Noah locked in a room with the knowledge that the woman he loves now hates him. Ivy is now the one to ask her father for permission to travel to the towns to get medicine to help her love. Because as the doctor, Victor, tells Edward and Tabitha, he has an infection and there's not much more that they can do.
If there were no limitations, what could be done?
Victor and Tabitha understand but don't believe what he is getting at, because the truth is, if they did have the right medicines, Lucius might just make it. Tabitha knows what Edward is thinking, but he cannot go back to the towns. Not him. He is one of the elders, and they have taken an oath to never return. The elders, him, has taken the oath.
Are you listening to me? You have taken the oath.
But not Ivy, because as difficult as it may be for them to allow it, they understand just how much she is hurting, but more importantly, they know that something can be done. So Edward takes Ivy for a walk where he tells her about his father, the wealthiest man in all the towns, who was shot dead in his sleep. And he tries to explain this so maybe she will understand the reason that the elders have made the decisions that they have. Taking her without the permission of any of the other elders to the shed that should not be used, he tells her,
"Do your very best not to scream."
What?
Afterwards, we see her packing a bag, saying goodbye to Lucius, and setting off for the towns, leaving her father to be the one to tell the others. While she waits at Resting Rock, both Fenton, who was one of Lucius's friends, and her brother-in-law Christoph arrive to accompany her to the towns. But once they reach the edge of the Forbidden Woods, Christoph gets too scared and leaves them. And not long into the woods, Fenton becomes too scared and does the same, telling Ivy that those we don't speak of will allow her to pass because she can't see them and her intentions are pure, but him they will definitely kill, which means that Ivy must now make this journey by herself. But first we see what happened in the shed.
Those we don't speak of!
3 suits of Those We Don't Speak Of hang within the shed, all of them fake and to be worn from time to time by the elders. All of it is just a mimicry of old rumors that surrounded the woods, but everything is fake. The suits, the noises in the woods, which we can see how they were made in a deleted scene, the ceremony where they throw meat onto the rock, and even the drills.
We did not want anyone to go to the towns, Ivy.
But the skinned animals that have been appearing around the village is still a mystery. Edward thinks that it might be one of the elders, but he isn't sure. But what he is sure about is the reason behind their lies. It was only to protect them. All of the elders know what it is like to lose someone close to them, to experience the most awful of feelings, and to even question living.
It is a darkness I wished you would never know.
They lied, but they did it as a way to hopefully protect everyone from all of the pain that is out there in the world. This pain that is now shared between himself and Ivy is the reason that he sends her on her way with a list of medicines and instructions on how to get to the towns. Because there is still a chance that she might not have to live with these feelings. It is all Edward can do, but it might just be enough. So he tells Alice this, for it is all that he can give her, and nothing more. Heartbroken as she may be, and as he may be, he has still done what he can to hopefully save her son's life. And this is the same reason that he tells the elders of why he sent Ivy away, all of it to save Lucius. There is a chance, there is still hope, and he cannot look and see the pain that is in Augusta's eyes and expect someone else to also have to carry that pain, not when there is still a chance.
It is too painful. I cannot bear it.
The others still think that this whole thing is a mistake, that everything they have built there could come crumbling down because of this. But if they don't, the innocence that they have preserved there within their village will now be gone. The future that is their children will be ruined, and their pure intentions will now be lost. The question of how far are you willing to go to protect the ones you love is something we can all relate to and understand, and is the reason that William Hurt does so good throughout this entire movie, but especially in this scene. Because there is still a chance to save Lucius, and Ivy is willing to go any distance to save his life.
Ivy's running toward hope. Let her run.
The next day, Ivy is still running towards that hope. That is until she comes up on a giant hole that then gives way on the edge that she's standing on, and she nearly falls to her death. Luckily, she's able to grab onto the roots that were left from the tree that fell and caused the hole and climb her way back out. Only now she has another problem. Her cane cracked and is now broken, but when she snaps it in two, she hears another stick in the distance snap as well. Recalling what her father had said about the rumors of real creatures in the woods, she begins to run through them, only stopping to catch her breath right in the middle of a patch of the very same berries that both Lucius and Noah had picked earlier, when something grunts not far away from her.
It's not real. It's not real.
Slowly, she begins to walk away, but the creature grunts again, causing her to turn, and we now see that it is facing her. Standing still, both silent for a moment, until the creature spreads its arms and begins to sprint towards her, with her jumping out of the way just in time as it passes and stops, giving her just enough time to dash through the woods to try to get away. But as she runs, she finds her way back to that very same hole, and she realizes what she has to do as she throws her stuff aside, puts her hood on, spreads her arms, and waits for the perfect moment. Back in the quiet room, Noah's parents have brought him lunch, but he isn't there, and neither is the suit that they had hidden under the floorboards. What is left, however, are some of the skins of the animals that he had been killing and leaving all over the village. All of that time in the quiet room had given him a chance to find the suit and add to it to make it his own. Because the thing chasing Ivy was never those we don't speak of. They are not real and never have been. It has always been someone in a suit, only this time it was Noah, and he did not survive the fall. Standing at the edge of the hole with a new stick in hand and unknowing of what or who lies at the bottom of it, Ivy continues her journey.
You are to tell no one in the towns where we are.
She has found the road that will bring her closer to saving her love, and the walkers have found the courage to revisit their past that has been locked away for so many years. Ivy's path ends blocked by a giant hedge that she begins to climb, and Edward and Tabitha stand before the lives that they left behind, now just a box full of memories. Memories from the not so long ago past.
And he shot my brother.
They stuffed her in a dumpster.
My father was shot.
All of them bad memories, all of the elders having experienced such tragedies that they wanted something to change, and Edward Walker was the one that had the idea that would lead to that change. His father had the money, and after his death it was left to him, an American history teacher at the University of Pennsylvania. He had the money, he knew a place, and he knew a time that was much more simple, less chaotic, and much easier for them to control. All of it an attempt to keep each other and their children safe from the darkness of the modern world.
Mile 27, there's a girl. I'm gonna check it out.
A ranger named Kevin pulls up in his Jeep and begins questioning Ivy, then telling her that she needs to return to her vehicle and leave because no one is allowed into the woods. But that's where she's from. She doesn't even know what a vehicle is or what made that sound when he pulled up and honked his horn at her. All she knows is that she needs to find a doctor so she can get the list of medicines to go back and save Lucius. Handing the list to Kevin, he's completely confused because he doesn't understand what she means that she came from the woods, but reading it, he understands that somebody must be hurt. And Ivy tells him again that they must make haste, but she also says,
You have kindness in your voice. I did not expect that.
With his kindness, Kevin tells her that he can get the medicines from one of their guard shacks just down the road, but before he leaves, she pays him with a very nice pocket watch, which causes him to wonder if she's tricking him or something, but she's not. So then Kevin, the ranger at the Walker Wildlife Preserve, asks for her name, Ivy Elizabeth Walker. At the closest guard shack, we get a cameo from M. Night himself reading a very tragic newspaper. Man sought in multiple slaying case. Body of 7-year-old found after 3 days missing. 11 die overseas in combat. It's through him that we learn that their entire job is just to patrol the border and keep people from going into the woods, and all of it is being paid for by some estate.
It's a really easy gig, Kevin. Maintain and protect the border. That's it.
M. Night goes back to reading his paper. Kevin acts as though he's only getting some snacks as he sneaks some medicines out of the cabinet, then goes around the back to get the ladder to help Ivy get over the fence without any issues. And she does. And then we also get this cool mirrored shot from the beginning of Ivy passing by with her reflection in the water compared to the beginning when we saw one of those we don't speak of's reflection in the creek. As now she is bringing life and joy with her back to the village instead of death and fear. She made it back, and we see all of the elders gathered together in Lucius's room with the door open as everyone outside is running to greet her. And then we have Jesse Eisenberg stopping in to tell the elders that Ivy has returned and that she was also attacked and had killed one of the creatures. Noah's parents hold each other tight as all the other elders understand the truth behind this news. And Edward assures them that they will go out and find his body and give him a proper burial, and that they will also tell everyone in the village that he was killed by the creatures.
Your son has made our stories real.
His death in this way, with what they're going to tell the rest of the community, has given them another chance to continue all of this, if that's something they still want to do. Without words, they all slowly stand and step forth to show that they do wish to keep their dream alive with what they have built here in the village. Just then is when Ivy enters the room, makes it to her love's bedside, and takes him by the hand. Now even more filled with hope that they really will be able to share that dance on their wedding night, as she tells him,
I'm back, Lucius.
Finally back, and having answered the question that we have been asking this whole time of how far are you willing to go to protect the one you love? And Ivy was willing to travel into the Forbidden Woods alone, fight off a creature that shouldn't have been there in the first place, and step into a completely new world that she couldn't even hope to comprehend. But that's where the horror of these twists really come in, because there's so much that she just doesn't know. As well as the entire younger generation within the village, Ivy is not the only one that is blind, it is everyone else too. It all makes you wonder if ignorance really is bliss, or is it just a handicap that leads to more problems? I'm sure August asks himself the same question every wakeless night when he's thinking about his son. They had done so much to protect their children, But it all comes back to the question Edward asked at the beginning.
Did we make the right decision to settle here?
And are they making the right decision by staying? When will Eliza end? When will the next accident happen? And will they allow someone else to travel to the towns when the medicine runs out? So many lies, so many questions, but the one that I can answer is how good is this twist? And I've decided to do this one differently since you should know the story, the acting, the predictability, the satisfaction, and my thoughts after everything you just watched. So here are the scores for each category. A 96 for the story because both of the twists do serve the story really well. A 94 for acting/character because the acting throughout this whole thing is really good and Ivy's character is the same before, during, and after the twist. Now, the predictability is a 62, and I know a lot of people guessed the twist early on, but going off of the film, there's really not a lot to hint at the fact that they are in modern day and not the 1890s. And I've also heard multiple people misremember the dates on the tombstones, claiming that they were modern day, but clearly it says 1897 is the year that they're pretending it is, which the predictability of all of this does play into a 68 for the satisfaction. And I'll be honest, I didn't know that there were so many people that didn't like this movie or the twist. But from what I found, it seems like a bunch of people went in expecting a monster movie, and it turned out to be this big love story, so I can see why people would be upset.
And yes, I will dance with you on our wedding night.
Which is also odd because watching the behind the scenes, M. Night talks about it, and even writing the script, that he was going for a love story. So it seems like maybe the studio kind of pushed the monster theme a little heavy to get people in to see it, just for people to be disappointed. Either way, the film is great, but I understand that people feel cheated by having the monsters not real and then the modern day twist. But as for the Poltergeiger, which is the most important category because it's my opinion, I give it a 91. Obviously, I love this movie and thought the twist was great, but I also did see it the first time when I was like 8 or 9, so my little mind was easily blown at that time. But I also love all of M. Night's original stories that he's done. I think they're all fantastic and I would like to cover more. But as for this one, our total comes out to an 82.2, putting it in last place on our search for another perfect twist. Which just goes to show that if one or two categories is not up with the rest of them, it drags the whole thing down.
It's not real. It's not real.
But it doesn't change the fact that this movie is amazing. And I'm sure the next twist that we look at will also be amazing, even though at this time, I don't know what it is. There's just so many twists out there that I'm just gonna have to pick one and go with it, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know down in the comments. And also let me know what you thought about the shortened ending when it comes to all of the scores and the ranking of the twist. But seriously, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I thank you so much, and I hope that you like the new setup. You can't really see everything that's back over there. I built shelves this week. I also moved the green screen way over there, which is why there was no green screen in this video, because I have to get a new cord for my microphone to reach all the way across the room. But even without it, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you can now understand why I like this movie so much. And before I forget, I have to thank the channel members because they are part of the reason I was able to move stuff around and build shelves and also get some more stuff for The Thing Part 2, as well as get stuff for the next video. So thanks to some of our newer members with Al, Any, Ganny Meaty, Peachy Stoner LOL, T-Dom, Penelope McGowan, Colin Adams, Kiefer Green, and Goob Not Doob. Seriously, y'all are helping make all of this easier. And with all of that, I thank you for watching, and remember, you can always take my hand. Have an extra blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one.